Now, President Akufo-Addo has terminated the appointment of the Minister of State at the Ministry of Finance, Charles Edubwine, with immediate effect. In a statement on Monday from the presidency, the Director of Communications, Eugene Ayin, said, quote, after being made aware of the allegations leveled against the minister in the expose, Galamsey Economy, the president spoke with Mr. Edubwine, after which he took the decision to terminate his appointment and also referred the matter to the special prosecutor for further investigations. In the said documentary by the investigative journalist Anas Arimeo Anas, Mr. Edubwine is said to have told the undercover investigators that the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, needs just $200,000 as token for appearance fee before meeting with supposed investors. The minister is also reported to have said that the Vice President would demand some contracts from an investor for his siblings to get his backing and influence in establishing a business in Ghana. Well, joining us to discuss this and with a reaction, Dr. Daniel Amartey-Anim, who is the Executive Director of the Policy Initiative for Economic Development. Thanks for your time this afternoon. The President acted on this swiftly. What signal does it send about the fight against corruption, or is it just because the Vice President, his reputation was at stake?
Thank you very much, Daryl. And yes, there has been several rumors of allegation, corruption, and its related offenses against the presidency. Even in recent Afrobarometer, the presidency was ranked #1, which wasn't a very good signal for His Excellency the President, having known him as a very astute lawyer who have stated that he's going to fight corruption. And with the establishment of the Special Prosecutor's Office, we have not seen much. So to me, I think it's a very swift reaction from His Excellency the President. Yeah, I agree with you that probably because the Vice President is involved, and there's the possibility of the Vice President also contesting for the flag bearership of the party. So I think the combined effect of the Vice President's credibility and as well as His Excellency, his credibility, his effort to fight corruption, the action to me is a very positive one. It could send a very positive signal to the investor community that indeed we are ready to fight the environment devoid of corruption and its related offenses. So to me, it's a very positive signal to have come from the president.
Right. I was going to ask, is this enough to win public trust and the government and its ability to fight corruption?
It is not enough, but it is a step in the right direction. And once the matter has been referred to the Office of the Special Prosecutor, we have to wait until the final determination. So for now, he is not guilty until it has been proven guilty by a body of competent jurisdiction. So to me, for the fact that His Excellency the President has relieved him of his responsibility, it is a positive signal. If you recall, His Excellency the President has repeatedly stated that as a lawyer, he will need evidence before he can take action. So probably what he might have heard or seen in the video could be that compelling, and that may necessitate his termination. But on the whole, I believe it is a step in the right direction. It could put other ministers on their toe to conduct themselves in a manner that will ensure that credibility in governance.
And there are also some who wish that the president would act swiftly on calls for him to sack his finance minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, for poor management of the economy. Does he still have justification for keeping Mr. Ofori-Atta in that position?
Yes, I think, to me personally, I'm of the view that His Excellency the President by now should reconsider his cabinet, his ministers, by way of reshuffle and bringing new people on board. It's long overdue. And for the fact that Honorable Finance Minister have lost the credibility in the eyes of the citizens, it's more appropriate for His Excellency to reassign him another responsibility, or probably relieve him of his responsibility and bring somebody on board that could be trusted. Because in finance, aside the policies, trust and confidence in the team, in the system is key and critical. So to me, these are some of the things that is expected of His Excellency to do. And now that he has activated that of Honorable Edubahin, I'm of the view that he should be able to follow the same line going forward.
All right, trust and confidence are really important. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Daniel Mate, Executive Director of the Policy Initiative for Economic Development. I appreciate your thoughts this afternoon. Now, a research by the Center for Economics, Finance and Inequality Studies Service has indicated that if the rate of the electronic transaction levy, e-levy, had been revised to 0.5% and 54% of the existing active users patronized mobile money transactions, the expected revenue for this year would have been a little above 2.64 billion cedis. This estimate is greater than the total revenue the government anticipates from the e-levy for the year 2022. Dr. Benjamin Amwa, Executive Director of Surface, joins us on Zoom to tell us more. Grateful you could join us this afternoon. So let's understand, first of all, what you sought to establish by this survey.
Thank you very much for having me. What we did was a follow-up on a similar study we had in April concerning the preparedness of Ghanaians in the wake of the impending e-levy in May. And from that particular survey, we realized that about 81.2 had indicated that to reduce their mobile money transactions if the e-levy of 1.5 is passed. So now it has been passed. We are talking about 4 or 5 months down the line. There's a need to go back to look at how the e-levy revenue basket is faring and what is contributing to what they are currently seeing as a revenue coming in and some of the issues surrounding the e-levy. So this is just a follow-up on what we did in April, but this time around to look at the numbers and how the numbers have been so far.
So can you elaborate more on your findings and the implications for revenue generation?
Okay, so what we have established is that looking at the states that we find ourselves in, we are talking about the country needing or in need of revenue, debt to GDP ratio. We are talking about the need to service our debt. Any initiative that will bring in more revenue is welcome. So from that point of view, it will be unwise for the government at this time to consider canceling the e-levy. The e-levy has come and the e-levy must stay. But then the issue is, what can the government do now to rake in more? If you look at the abysmal performance of the e-levy so far, we have established that a rate of 0.5% will make it more expensive for users of the e-levy to look for other means of transferring money than the current 1.5. So 0.5% is better. It brings in more money, and it will also help the country to build on its digital economy agenda.
And also worrying is that you discover that people are avoiding mobile money transactions because they do not want to pay the levy.
Absolutely. You know, the levy of 1.5% is expensive. If you look at what the telcos are charging, the telcos who are the innovators and the original owners of the product, and then if you look at the state, that is just the geographical territorial body that the service is provided, and the state is charging 1.5. The state that should be socially oriented in terms of its service. And for this particular service, the state is rather charging more than what the private sector is charging. It goes against the everyday public service of goods that we buy in town, where in many instances, public service are cheaper than private sector. But this time around, it's reverse. So what is happening is that it is expensive, and for many, the best way to avoid it is to find the loopholes in the system. And the easiest way out is to deposit the funds through the merchant and then call on the recipient to go to another merchant and to withdraw the money. Because after all, deposits is not suffering the 1.5 e-levy. So if it is deposit and then cash out, the parties involved are avoiding the e-levy. So it is simply because the rate of 1.5 is too expensive. Hence, many are finding other means to dodge it.
And so what are your recommendations, especially as government prepares to present the 2023 budget?
The recommendations are simple. Reduce it from 1.5 to 0.5. Once you do that, 0.5 becomes manageable for many people. And so even the desire to do something else to avoid it will now be more expensive when it is 0.5 than the current 1.5, because the current 1.5, it is rewarding to exploit the loopholes. If we reduce it to 0.5, it becomes more expensive to exploit the loopholes. Through that means, we are going to have a lot more individuals effecting transfers through Momo, and the government will then have the numbers, the volumes, and the values to apply the e-levy of 0.5 on, which will in the end rake in more for the government than the current 1.5.
Well, the question is whether or not the government would heed this advice, because they had a perfect opportunity to review when we, after 10 months, saw that we're not meeting the projected revenue.
Yeah, again, like you're right. But I see now the numbers are clear. The e-levy is not difficult to estimate in terms of the behavior. It is simply a summation of daily e-levy transfer in the audit trail. That is summed up to the monthly values that we see. We have gone through this for about 5 months, so you can predict the likely amount. So it should not be difficult at all for government to know whether they will or will not be able to achieve the revenue. And we are saying that do not scrap it. We are not saying scrap it because you need money, so the revenue, you need it. Keep it, but then try as much as possible to reduce it so that you can get a lot more individuals making use of the product. Again, we are talking about the digital economy. You don't want to compromise the digital economy. You also will tax the digital economy, corporate tax. So it's a win-win situation if you charge a rate that benefits the users because a lot more people will use it, then you are also able to build your digital economy. So the government will have to consider the 0.5 because the 1.5 is not working.
The numbers are clear, like you point out. Dr. Benjamin Amwa, Executive Director, Surface, appreciate your time with us this afternoon. Now, last Friday, a food market opened at the Agric Ministry in Accra where civil servants could buy foodstuff directly from the ministry. The move is aimed at mitigating the impact of rising food prices, but some have questioned this move by the Agric Ministry. Joining us to share some thoughts is Anthony Morrison, Chief Executive of the Chamber of Agribusiness Ghana. I appreciate your time. How sustainable is this move, Anthony?
Daryl, thank you very much, and very good afternoon to your cherished viewers and Ghana agribusiness players. I want to start with the fact that I think that this concept kind of lacks a very strategic concept. For instance, it seems Ministry of Food and Agriculture is arrogating to itself other legislative functions that has been given to other agencies like buffer stock company. And we also think that it is a market disruption concept in that it does bring some kind of messed up system within the agriculture market system. And this will not augur well for the sector. Now, it is also our view that in the pricing, we don't know, for instance, if Ghana Standards Authority were actually consulted in the pricing, especially at the farm gate. And there are also some views or concerns as to which farms were selected for these purposes, which criteria were used in the selection of these farms, and several others, and it also behoves to also begin to look at is government or Ministry of Food and Agriculture moving away from their role of providing externalities of support for the industry. You want to also then finally ask MOFA, what are their indicators? We are seeing them looking at plantain. Ghana's food security challenges have nothing to do with plantain. It's as a result of, for instance, a research the Chamber has done shows clearly a family of 4 to 5 spends no less than 500 cedis a month on the vegetables. So we were actually expecting the Ministry of Food and Agriculture to start looking at probably if there is even a need for this, they were going to look at vegetables first. And most precisely, it shows that the minister is out of touch with the realities. The ministry is not getting its work done properly into contextualizing the current challenges facing Ghanaians.
Well, interestingly, some people we interviewed on that day said they didn't notice any difference in the pricing of the food items. It just was as though it was the same as if they would go to the market.
Yes, I'm not surprised because, that tells you that the minister did not do enough consultation with the market system players within the agricultural value chain to understand how the forces of the market play. You remember when this issue came out some 2-3 months ago, I told you that it's a strategy that is totally out of place. If the minister understands the market system, how it works, especially from the farm gate, you're looking at the aggregator, the transporter, and also the market woman. So there are a lot of players in that system. So who now pays the farmer? Who now pays for the transportation? Who pays for the loading and the offloading? And who now take the product at the market center, store it, and sell? So if the minister have done his work and have actually contextualized the various variations in the pricing, you will understand that this has got nothing to do with the marketplace, and rather it is about the availability of food that most Ghanaians consume more, and not that we are not consuming what is available. If we have done the food security parameters very well, for instance, when you look at the food security indicators, it says availability, which is very key, utilization, and also affordability. Those 3 keys are the concern of most Ghanaians now. How much would you use 10 cedis to buy? What quantity and at what rate are you buying it? These are the concerns. If the price or the food is available, in what quantity is it available? And am I using the same amount of money I used to for the past 6 months or a year to buy? Okay, so this is the point we need to be looking at. We know the prices of rice have shot up on the market, vegetables have shot up. We haven't seen much of the plantain, cassava, Daryl. So the issue now is not about the indigenous food we eat more, even though the chamber is of concern that the ministry is also not doing much to push Ghanaians to eat a lot of local food. But then that puts a lot of work on the doorsteps of MOFA, but also as Ghanaians in our taste, our insatiable taste for foreign goods, and how we must be able to support farmers as to what they produce and eat what Ghana have so that we can grow Ghana.
And we are not losing sight of the other factors which are real. The fact that fuel prices are going up high. We are dealing with inflation at the moment. My point being that even though we have these things going on and impacting on food prices, how can we bring down the cost practically? What do we have to do that the ministry doesn't seem to have a grip on?
Okay, so there are 3 key derivatives here. First, we need to produce our own seeds. Ghana imports, when it comes to the vegetables, probably 95% of vegetable seeds are imported. When it comes to grains and cereals, we import well over about 55 to 60% of our rice, maize, and soya seeds. So there is a need for us to grow the local seed industry. As it stands now, the industry is almost down because government owes seed suppliers and seed producers well over 152 million cedis. The same applies to fertilizer dealers. We also need to look at how we can adopt and commercialize organic production. And that implies that we need to now begin to produce our own organic fertilizers, our own organic pesticides, and organic weedicides. Then moving forward, how do we support farmers with regards to mechanization? When it comes to plowing, it comes to harrowing, it comes to harvesting, they all require fuel, and the cost of fuel is a major determinant now because in every facet of the agricultural value chain, every activity, fuel is involved, transportation is involved. So there are add-ons, and you don't expect the farmer not to add this at the end of the production. And when the aggregator, the transporter are moving this produce from the farm gate onto the market, there are other transportation and fuel add-ons. So we need to also come to the realization, just as we've been doing for the fisher folks, where we produce, we supply them with premise fuel. We should be ready to support farmers to be able to plow their land. Currently, we used to plow land, it used to be 150 Ghana cedis, it moved to 200. Now, in some areas, it's 350 and 400 cedis per acre. So you don't expect the farmer to produce and still sell at a very low price, which is not possible.
Okay. All right, we'll leave it here. Thanks for your time. CEO of the Chamber of Agribusiness, Anthony Morrison. I appreciate your insight this afternoon. You're watching The Marketplace. Now, interest rates continue to surge on the money market, going beyond 35% to reflect the increased inflation rate of 40.4% in October this year. However, the government failed to meet the sale of the Treasury bills target marginally by 3.7%. This is the fifth week running that the government failed to achieve its target, but based on the numbers, liquidity appears to be improving. Head of Trading at Republic Securities, Patrick Edemagama, joins us with more. And so how is the market, the money market, reacting to the October inflation surge? Patrick?
Okay, good afternoon, Daryl, and good afternoon to your viewers. Okay, so for the money market, although we are seeing that investors are reacting to, let's say, inflation and all that, we can also see that there's some resistance in the rates. That's from the short end of the curve to the middle side of the curve. So if you can look at what happened in this particular auction for last week, some bids were rejected. About 5.8 million worth of the bids were not accepted on the 182-day and the 364-day. It means that there is still some control that needs to come in or is coming in to resist the rates people are bidding for on the money market.
Okay, what is causing this resistance?
Well, definitely, the fact that the government needs money does not mean it will accept all the rates that investors are bidding for on the money market. So for the 182-day, you can see that it's been trading around 35, and even on the secondary market, you can see that some bids around 36% were accepted. It doesn't mean that the government is willing to accept ridiculous rates as high as 40 for a 182-day instrument. So if the bids are too high, definitely the government will reject them.
Let's turn to the stock market. And price decline in MTN Ghana triggered a negative return for the stock exchange last week. Tell us more.
Well, we are seeing the bids increase in MTN. As of now, we are seeing bids increase at 80 pesos per share, whilst market is trading at 87 pesos per share. Looking at the level of bids and the offers on the market, it only means that eventually MTN will drop down to 80 pesos if the bids are still at that level for a very long time against limited offers on the market now.
Yeah, but can you tell us a bit more about what caused the price decline that we saw last week?
Well, there are so many factors that could cause this, but what happened was that the bid at 80 pesos has been there for a very long time, and it's been mounting. So if we don't have too many people selling and or trying to sell at a particular price, then the bids are going to win when an offer accepts or an offer comes in that crosses at that level. So we saw that happening last week, and we'll see how this week the price is able to hold at the current 87 pesos.
All right, we'll keep watching with you. Patrick Edemagama, Head of Trading at Republic Securities. Appreciate your time. And that's the marketplace. Thanks for watching, everyone. More news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. My name is Daryl Kwawu. Thanks for watching. We will be back same time tomorrow.